Default constraint. The default constraint is used to provide a default value for a column. The default value will be added to all new record if no other value is specified. Suppose there is one column, and in that column and there is no while entering record there is no insertion of value in that column. At that time null value gets added, but we want some specific value or default value to add in that column. In that case we use default constraint. So we see the example here. Create table patient id in patient fname varchar 50, patient name varchar 50, patient disease varchar 50. This is the patient table. So we create the escape table, then we insert these records. Yeah. Insert into patient values Rishi Kapoor cancer, Rishi Kapoor Irfan Khan colon infection, insert into patient id patient name. So values Irfan Kapoor. So we execute this query. So we can get null value inserted here, but we want to insert some default value in this decision because no value is provided for this column. For this column no value is provided. There are only three values for three columns, but for last column there is no value, so null gets inserted. So if we want to insert some default value in that condition, we can give default constraint to that column. So this is already created table. So if we want to add default constraint, so here is a syntax for adding: alter table name, add constraint name, default value for column. So alter table name patient, add constraint name. You can give the name of column here with the default value. And so I want to provide 9. Instead of null we want to display this value. Column name, this is the last column. We have to take care that there must be the proper name here. Here maybe any name, but for the here the name of column must be proper. So here if we see now their table patient, here constraint is get added, and here if we see in design we can get patient disease default value for binding COVID-19 here. So in this way our constraint is added for this column. So we can check now. So now COVID-19 added instead of adding null record. But we can add, if can we add record like this. Here there is no value, but there is space. So space in the default constraint is not working in this condition. We add null. Now also default value is not getting inserted. So record should be added like this way. In that condition, default value will be added. We want to drop the default constraint, then there is syntax like this. So enter table patient drop constraint, constraint name, constraint is drop. So if we see in design, for this column there is no value for bind or binding. So if we want to add the default constraint at the time of designing the table, so we can add default constraint in this way, or we here default constraint add like this for this column. Here constraint gets added, and also in design we can see default value. Now default constraint is added here, and if for this column the value or binding is COVID-19. So in this way we can add default constraint to a table, and for a column default constraint acts like this, and a default value can be inserted by adding default constraint to a column of a table. So that's all about default constraint. Thank you.